Hello Eagles Nation, Vincent First here, and welcome to a Week 9 Eagles Chat, where here at Eagles Chat we get down right to the news you want to hear on your birds. But before we get into it, make sure you like and subscribe to the Eagles Chat YouTube channel, as well as following us on Instagram at ChatEagles, where you can find daily updates on your birds. You can also find our Instagram in the description of this Eagles Chat video. But now let's get right into it. And as we all know, the Eagles went up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Man, this Victory Monday feels so good here in the Delaware Valley. Birds getting the win 28-23. So obviously, this game was probably a lot closer than it really should have been, as believe it or not, the Eagles were leading in this game 22-0 at one point. So the big question is, what in the world happened to the Birds in the second half? We're about to get into that in a little bit. Well, I'll give you a hint though, coaching. That is your hint, but we're about to get into that in just a little bit. But we're going to first start off with the injury update. So now, what is the one big time injury we have on the injury update? Well, that is A.J. Brown. So obviously the news with him is he is said to have a knee injury. He left yesterday's game and was said to not return. So all through today, there's been a lot of different news that has been coming out about A.J. Brown. So when we first woke up this morning, a lot of people were definitely very, very concerned, as we already lost A.J. Brown to a hamstring injury earlier in the season. So that's the last thing we need, is to see A.J. Brown be gone for, again, more substantial amount of time. That's the last thing we need to see is him gone longer once again. But good news came out. It was said to not be as bad as what they thought it was going to be. Now, more news coming out about a few hours ago, saying that now he is day-to-day, which is incredible news. So it went from being just a knee injury, which can mean probably a gazillion different things, to being not as bad as they thought and not too bad, to now being day-to-day, which multiple reports have said. Again, like I said, probably about as of a few hours ago now, it's about a few hours ago. So that is definitely something very, very positive to see out of the injury reports coming from, again, like I said, multiple different sources. So we'll continue to monitor that injury very, very closely as the rest of this week continues. Any updates on that, make sure to follow us on Instagram to stay updated on your bird so you never miss a single beat, especially on something like this where the last thing we need is A.J. Brown out for a substantial amount of time. This is going to be an important one, and hopefully this week he gets back into it. He may not play next week. We'll have to see how things go, but he may not play next week, so we'll continue to monitor it very, very closely to keep you guys updated as best as we possibly can. But now, moving into the big discussion after yesterday's game, and that is Nick's decision. So, looking after yesterday's game, what in the world is going on? You were up 22-0, so what could have possibly happened in that second half? Well, I think I know what 100% did happen, and that is the fact that we left, let's say, more than 6 points on the field. Now, CBS was estimating that the Eagles left about 6 points on the field. I am countering that. I'm going higher. I predicted that the Eagles, or not predicted, excuse me. I'm saying that the Eagles left about 9 or so points on the field. It really depends on how you look at it and what you thought they would do if they would have gotten those points instead of, again, the 2 failed 2-point conversions. There were a field goal that they really should have went for, but they didn't. And then there was obviously the one that Jake Elliott missed, which you can't blame Jake Elliott in that situation. You don't use the guy at all, and then you bring him out in a clutch situation. At that point, you can't be mad at Jake Elliott. You have to be mad at the coaching decisions. And yes, they still won the game. I'm still not quite on board with Nick Sirianni's decision-making, as well with him still being the head coach. Right now, yes, I understand they're 6-2. Yes, I understand they had 2 dominating wins prior to this one against the Bengals and the Giants. But right now, man, his coaching decisions are really concerning me and really getting me to the point where I'm a little nervous right now. Yes, the Eagles are on the pathway to making the playoffs. My only concern is they'll make the playoffs, and then a bad coaching decision will conk them out in the first round, and they'll choke in the first round. That is something that is really concerning me with these coaching decisions. If you go up against a better team, if you go up, for example, against the Detroit Lions, stuff like this is not going to fly. And the fact that you let Jacksonville back in the game, yes, I understand they've been playing better football as of late, but still, you let Jacksonville back into this game and really gave them traction once again when, again, you had them down 22-0 at a certain point during this game. There's absolutely no reason that they should have came back and scored 23 points in that game. And the fact that they had a chance to win it with a touchdown at the end of the game is honestly pathetic. And it's something that's really I'm sorry, I get you won the game, I get your team is 6-2, but Nick, you have to do better with that. This can't happen. This is something where you go up against better teams, you're not going to go anywhere in the playoffs. And again, if decisions like that happen like yesterday, again, they won the game, I get it, but they're not going to go anywhere in the playoffs if this decision-making keeps happening and keeps costing them points, because every single point matters, especially if you're going up against a really talented team, which luckily Jacksonville is not. Yes, they've been playing better football, like I said, but they're not up there with obviously Detroit and guys like that. This is something where, it gets a little concerning, and some of these decisions really can cost the Eagles down the line. So Nick has to be better 100%. This is something that has me a little worried as the season progresses. But hopefully, like I said, the Eagles have been playing better since the bye week. Hopefully they can develop into really understanding, like, hey, we got to take the points when necessary. I understand you want to go for it and sometimes do the hero play when necessary, but you really got to feel out your team. That is something I'm a little concerned with right now with Nick Sirianni, is his ability to really feel out how his team is playing. As we all know, the tush push yesterday was not online at all. It was not doing well at all, 100%, where there was one 4th and inches, and they were still, it was a struggle, and it was something where the Jacksonville D-line, I have to give them credit. They were not letting the Eagles get down and dirty with that play. And as well, what I mean with down and dirty, not just their ability to push the opposing team's defensive line around, but their ability to not even let them get really down and let them push. As we saw many times yesterday, Jalen Hurts was not down as far as he usually was. He was kind of standing up, and it was just, the tush push just looked 100% off yesterday. Yes, the setup was a little strange compared to prior times they've done it, but it was just a little, I don't know, something was off about the tush push yesterday. Some of the play calls, again, I've been telling people this all week. You can really tell the difference between when Kellen Moore calls a play and when Nick Sirianni butts in and calls a play. The difference is, you can usually tell when Nick Sirianni calls a play call, it's usually a play that you've never seen before and a play that you never want to see again. That's usually how you know it's Nick Sirianni's play. There was one play yesterday that really had me confused, where all the Eagles needed was a little gain. Instead, the play had Jalen Hurts scrambling in the backfield, had Jalen Hurts running for his life practically 20 yards behind the line of scrimmage. I just don't get what crosses his mind sometimes. And like I said, you can usually tell between when Kellen Moore calls a play and when Nick Sirianni calls a play. And how do I know that? Well, not just this year, but looking at all last season between Brian Johnson and Nick Sirianni, there was a lot of times Nick Sirianni called plays last year, and I tell you what, yeah, if you want to ask me how I know, just look at all of last season. That's how I know when Nick Sirianni calls a play for the Birds. That is exactly how I know. But again, that is something he has to be better about, and something that's just not going to fly as the season progresses. So Nick has to be better in that type of situation and in that scenario in general. But now moving on to Jalen Hurts' play. So I have to give kudos to Jalen Hurts. Yes, he had some iffy moments, but I love his ability to not let that really determine how his game played out. Let's go over his stats. 18 out of 24 for 230 yards, 2 touchdowns, and for his running, and he had 13 carries for 67 yards and 1 touchdown. So Jalen Hurts had good moments, and he had some bad moments yesterday. And there were some times where, yes, the hesitation came back. It got to the point where he did go down with the ship. Yes, I understand being a QB, you want to get that ball out and you want to get a good gain. You're looking for that guy that's open. But really, when it gets to the point when there's 3 or 4 guys from the opposing team right on you, you have to get rid of the ball. And there were some times yesterday where he made the not so smart move at all and went down with the ship, costing the Eagles big time and making them lose a good amount of yardage. That's something that I didn't like at all. But definitely looking at it, Hurts was able to not let those little mistakes define his game. He was able to bounce back. Even though the second half wasn't the best of football for the Birds, Hurts was able to counter some of his mistakes and turn that into positivity. Of course, looking in the second half, we saw the great pass to Devontae Smith. Obviously, that pass was probably going out of bounds as Devontae Smith used every single part of his body, the whole length of his body, to bring that in with one hand for that 25-yard passing touchdown. That was incredible. And as well with the pass, can't ignore this one, Jahan Dotson, who had an incredible catch as well for the Birds. So speaking of a guy that they really need to use more, yes, they need to use Smith a little more, but they also need to use Jahan Dotson a little more as well, as he's definitely someone who can 100% do his job. That's your wide receiver 3. He's there. Goddard's hurt. They 100% should be using Dotson a lot more. And even yesterday, he had that great catch. They didn't use him that much. So that's something I'm hoping to see a little more from the Eagles is to really get Dotson involved in the play a lot more. He is definitely a receiver that is up there with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, hands down. He is 100% up there with those two. So all in all, the offense was able to contribute. Jalen Hurts was able to overcome his mistakes, and that is something I really got to give a good amount of kudos to Hurts on that for sure. But now moving on to the offense. So let's go over our two offensive players of the game. First one is Saquon Barkley, obviously having an incredible game. 27 carries, 159 yards, 5.9 yards a carry, and 1 touchdown. And Devontae Smith having, of course, that 25-yard touchdown. That was his play of the game. Had 4 receptions for 87 yards, 1 touchdown. So incredible game by Devontae Smith. His ability of his awareness on the field and his ability to keep both feet down. I've been watching him since back when he was in college. He's absolutely incredible. And again, like I said, his ability to keep both feet down. In college, as we all know, you only need one foot in bounds for it to count. A little bit different in the NFL. Like we all know, you need 2 feet down. And still, his ability to keep both feet down on that play yesterday was absolutely incredible. We were so lucky to have him in the color green. And it's a pleasure watching him play in South Philadelphia and doing what he did yesterday in front of the Philly faithful. That is something incredible, hands down. But that is not the play of the game. The play in the game is this. Probably not the play of the game, probably the play of the Eagles season, and probably the play of the NFL season with that note. Saquon Barkley having this incredible run, was able to juke out a opposing team defender, and not just do that, but as well to jump over an opposing team's defender backwards and still turn upfield to keep running. Yes, he was taken down right after he made that jump, but man, his ability on his awareness on the field, this is absolutely incredible. I haven't seen talent like this in an Eagles uniform in a long time. Shady McCoy is, let's just say his record is 100% at stake as coming into this game. Saquon Barkley was beating Shady on every single stat except carries. Saquon Barkley had less carries than McCoy did, but yet Barkley had more yards, rushing yards, had more yards per carry as well. So, and as well had more touchdowns than him in a single season so far. So right now, Saquon Barkley really showing it up. And if he stays on this, if he stays healthy as well, he should beat Shady McCoy. I don't want to disrespect Shady McCoy by saying this. He is one heck of a running back, and he'll always have a place in my heart 100%, especially as he was inducted into the Eagles Hall of Fame last night, which was absolutely incredible. He deserves it. But right now, Saquon Barkley stays on the pace he's at. He will beat Shady hands down and overtake McCoy 100%. Right now, Barkley is all over the place, making incredible plays like this, which I mean, I've seen him jump over guys before, but this is absolutely incredible. And who knows what we'll see from Barkley down the line. Hopefully he continues this great play. But now moving into the defense, here are our defensive players of the game. First one, big contributor right here, Cooper DeJean, who was breaking up a lot of different passes from Trevor Lawrence, was really a nuisance for the Jags back there in the secondary, doing his job 100%. And like I said, he was back in the secondary a lot during yesterday's game, breaking up passes, doing an incredible job. Have to give a good shout out to Cooper DeJean, who was all over the place, broke up a good amount of plays. So kudos to him on that. Played one heck of a game, as well with Zach Baun. I feel like Zach Baun's on here every single week, and 100% he deserves to be. 10 tackles, and as well he had that one incredible interception. Zach Baun seems to be that guy where now you see him, now you don't. Now you don't see him, now you do see him. He seems to be a guy that just pops out of nowhere and just plays his position incredibly. As such a great linebacker. As we all know last year, that was a big issue with the Birds last year with the linebacker position. It was something that was a little concerning. I wouldn't say it was a huge issue last year, but it was a little bit of a concern last year. I'll say that. And Zach Baun, 100%, coming from the New Orleans Saints, who basically said, we don't necessarily need you, or we don't really see too much in you. Had an incredible game against the New Orleans Saints, what is going on with the New Orleans Saints right now? Well, let's just say, they're losing consecutive games in a row. Their losing streak is crazy right now. I think it's a 7-game losing streak, or maybe a little more than 7 games now. I think it may be an 8-game losing streak. Comment down below if I'm a little wrong on that. I know it's either 7 or 8 games, but I'm not quite sure on that one. But I know, again, it's either 7 or 8 game losing streak. So the Saints, ever since the beginning of the year, they've been in a downright tank. They just fired their head coach this morning. So right now, Saints aren't doing that well. I'm pretty sure Zach Baun is happy to be in the color green in South Philadelphia. He is absolutely incredible. We're glad to have him, and man, he just makes incredible plays week after week after week. He is an incredible stud for this defense, and man, this guy, I tell you what, all over the place. That interception yesterday was incredible. Looked like he was not even going to, wasn't even really that close to it, and still dove, made that incredible play. Kudos to him. One heck of a game by Zach Bond. And as well, finally, Josh Sweat, who was putting in a beautiful amount of pressure on Trevor Lawrence. 2 sacks for Josh Sweat, was all over the place with that. We all know that little hand movement. Great to see Josh Sweat thriving as usual, playing his defensive end position extremely well. And congratulations to Josh Sweat. Incredible game. Keep it up. And, hey, the defense definitely showed up when necessary yesterday. I understand they let go 23 yards, but there was that one controversial turnover on Saquon Barkley with that whole thing. I don't agree with the call. I'm not going to get into it too much. I've already rambled enough during this Eagles chat, and I've already talked enough about that call today. I don't agree with that call that was made on Saquon Barkley. The ground can't cause a fumble when you're touched. He clearly was touched. I don't even want to go into it anymore, or else I'm just going to get angry. And let's just be real. The Eagles got the win. That's all I care about, right? So now, what do we got coming up next? Well, yeah, it's Dallas week, folks. Week 10, November 10th, Sunday, November 10th, and this game will be in Dallas. So get your popcorn, get your favorite beverage. This is going to be a great game. Eagles going up against a banged-up Dallas team who are struggling like crazy, and it's such a beautiful sight to see the Dallas fans cry more and more and more. We love to see it. It's downright hilarious, and it's something that we just 100% love to see. Hopefully the Eagles can take care of business, as Dak Prescott is not going to be the one not going to be the QB they're going up against. It's probably going to be Cooper Rush. So we'll see how the Eagles do next week. Again, that's in Dallas. It'd be such a beautiful sight to see the Eagles come in there and just roll over them to make the Dallas fans cry even more. It'd be basically putting in your earbuds and listening to your favorite song at that rate. Is basically being an Eagles fan and hearing the Dallas Cowboys cry. It's the same exact thing, like I said, of putting in your earbuds and listening to your favorite song. So hopefully the Birds can keep their winning ways going. Even though this game was a little closer than it really should have been, they keep their winning ways going and improve to 6-2. Hopefully they get another one, a big W next week in Dallas. That would be a great sight to see in the second game of November. That would be awesome. But that's all I really got to say for this Week 9 Eagles chat. The Eagles were able to get the job done, get the win. That is the most important thing. So that's all for me. And as always, go Birds! Eagles were able to get the win in the beautiful Kelly Green. I will see you back here next week to cover the Dallas-Philly game, and hopefully we'll be covering a win that is hopefully certain. We'll see. Have a good one, folks.